Open Door, China in Indiana is made possible by a grant from the Hanban Confucius Institute headquarters, a public institution affiliated with the Chinese Ministry of Education, committed to providing Chinese language and cultural teaching resources and services worldwide. Additional support is provided by Indiana University, Purdue University, Indianapolis.
Ni hao, everyone. Chances are many of you already know that ni hao is Chinese for hello. Welcome to our show, Open Door, China in Indiana. I'm Jennifer Carmack. Nearly every day we see headlines highlighting a growing business relationship, a direct connection, in fact, between Indiana companies and the nation of China. In today's fluctuating world economy, doing business with one of the biggest players on the international scene only makes sense. What you may not realize, though, is that Chinese culture has held influence in Indiana for many decades. In this program, we're going to show you several facets of Chinese civilization in the Hoosier State, not only in terms of business, but also medicine, education, and the arts. And along the way, you'll also learn what great gifts the people of Indiana are sharing with their Chinese counterparts. It really is a true international exchange. In central Indiana, this cultural exchange has an important advocate and intermediary in the Confucius Institute of Indianapolis, located at IUPUI. Founded in China in 2004, there are now over 300 Confucius Institutes around the world, 3 of them right here in Indiana. These nonprofit institutes promote the study of Chinese language and build cultural bridges in their host countries, using one of Confucius's most important philosophies. It's called Zhen, or benevolence.
We offer Chinese language teaching for the college students. We also support the K-12 student learning Chinese. Also, we work with the state government, for the local communities, whoever who want to understand China or Chinese culture, we are there for them.
Travel programs, translation services, and business consulting are just some of the reasons volunteer Lauren Bruns thinks the Confucius Institute is important in a world where China's impact is growing.
You have so many cultural things just even built into the language itself. And I think that's really beneficial, and it really opens people up to being marketable.
Whether through festivals, art classes, exchange programs, or language studies, those at the Confucius Institute hope to have a prominent role in creating good world citizens. Obviously, as business looks for new partners in the global economy, many eyes are cast towards China. China is now Indiana's second largest trading partner in Asia. Hoosier imports to China grew by 554% from 2000 to 2010, and Chinese companies are investing big dollars in Indiana. To build trade with China, building relationships, both large and small, is key. And to build relationships, as Glenn Augustine found, Americans in trade talks often have to answer 2 basic questions. Where is Indiana, and why should I trade there?
This is a rapidly modernizing country where urban sprawl is measured not in suburbs, but in skyscrapers, where a growing middle class has parked its bicycles in favor of Benzes, Buicks, and Beamers. China's full steam ahead economy is creating wealth at home and offers opportunities right here in Indiana.
It's interesting that China is now one of our largest export destinations.
Indiana companies exported $1.1 billion worth of machinery, chemicals, transportation equipment, and computer and electrical products into China last year, and the push for trade continues.
The biggest challenge we have is awareness.
Dan Hassler heads the Indiana Economic Development Corporation, which tries to sell U.S. and foreign investors on the benefits of doing business in Indiana.
If you look at where we are logistically in the United States and our infrastructure, our interstate system, our rail lines, our three ports. It puts us in an ideal place for a company that's thinking about distribution issues.
From this home office in Columbus, Indiana, to this trade seminar inside a Purdue University facility in Indianapolis, Hoosiers have China firmly implanted in their business minds.
It's all about creating jobs, and if we can create jobs in Indiana and Greater Lafayette community, where the investment is coming into our community from China, which is a dominant, growing marketplace, then we both win.
But to win a trade deal with China, you need more than geographical awareness. You need patience, you need understanding, and you need a business plan. Most entrepreneurs doing business in China in the late 1980s would have told Ori Fritz his business plan did not make sense. They were working in China's southern regions. When a customer asked Fritz to look for wood products in China, he headed in the opposite direction.
He was one of the first to really pioneer up north, and that's where all the hardwoods were. And so we kind of worked it backwards, so we went from north to south.
Ori Fritz founded Columbus's Tradespan International, which imports furniture and now employs 15 people in 4 offices spread across China. Ori started teaching his son Joe the ropes during this 1993 trip.
What I picked up on that's really maintained the last 18 years is they're traditionalists in that they like to do things in a certain way that they've always done it.
The concept of developing relations is extremely important. The Chinese even have a word or a concept for it, guangxi.
Americans used to making a first connection by hastily passing business cards over a quick lunch. Find conducting business in China much different.
We need to learn the importance of a business card and how you present it.
They really study it, hold it with 2 hands, and treat it like it's something of value.
Gifts are important too, as are meals.
The Chinese have hosted us in formal banquets all around large round tables with a lazy Susan where everyone's using chopsticks. We have to get used to that.
There's procedures on who sits where. The guest of honor sits right in the middle of the back, and so whoever enters the room, all eyes are on that gentleman. We share tea together. We have toast. We're lifting one another up. You know, they're big on that.
Even though dinner lasts nearly 3 hours.
I really try to limit the business discussions. You know, they're sure, I mean, that's what we're there for, but at the same time, we're really trying to build rapport.
Rapport leads to relationships. Relationships, carefully cultured in the ways of Chinese culture, eventually can lead to partnerships.
I think any businessman would be wise to do as much homework as possible, to learn as much about the country.
Which is why these business leaders sit inside this lecture hall and try to build a winning China strategy.
We either learn to embrace them or we're going to end up competing with them.
It's paying off in Tippecanoe County. China's second largest aluminum company, Nanshan Group, is building a $100 million extrusion plant in Lafayette and will provide a $10 million grant to Purdue. The president of Nanshan America is a Purdue alumnus.
Those are the generations of Chinese business people that will, I think, eventually really jumpstart the growth in terms of Chinese business to Indiana.
Nanshan is one of several recent major Chinese investments in Indiana, totaling more than $130 million and creating more than 300 jobs. Trade between China and Indiana has a bright future, built on Hoosier hospitality and guangxi.
We've shown you what China has brought to Indiana's bottom line. Now let's talk about the heart of the matter as we take you inside a unique exchange program between Indiana University Medical School and its Chinese counterpart, Sun Yat-sen University, facilitated by the Confucius Institute. Since 2009, med students and physicians from IU have traveled to Sun Yat-sen, where they not only share medical philosophies, they have the occasion to embrace culture and language as well. In return, Sun Yat-sen students spend time at IU health facilities engaging in similar activities. This exchange continues to open the door for future medical advances and prepares future doctors for the medical challenges that lie ahead.
At Indiana University School of Medicine, the largest medical school in the Midwest, the Confucius Institute is playing an important role in the sharing of medical knowledge and breakthroughs both here and in China.
You know, the world has gotten smaller and smaller, and I think as people understand each other more and more and people know each other, you realize how little difference there really is.
The Confucius Institute is not only bridging the cultural canyons between the U.S. and China, it's also helping to expand the knowledge base of current and future medical professionals thanks to a growing exchange program.
We now have 8 to 10 medical students per year from Sun Yat-sen University come to a clinical rotation at Indiana University, and about 3 to 4 Indiana University School of Medicine students come each year to do a clinical rotation at Sun Yat-sen University.
Dr. Deanna Willis is an associate professor of family medicine at Indiana University. She and her husband, Dr. Marcus Schomburger, an IU Health pediatric cardiologist, became involved with the program through the Confucius Institute for both professional and personal reasons.
My wife and I have 2 daughters adopted from China, so we always had a strong interest in getting involved with some activities in China. Once we heard the Confucius Institute was looking for faculty volunteers to teach medical school in China, we obviously got very interested in that and spent about 10 to 14 days in Guangzhou as a partnership between IU School of Medicine and Sun Yat-sen University School of Medicine.
8 Sun Yat-sen students are chosen to study for a month at IU Health.
All the medical students who come from China to our program here at IU are the top of their class. It's a very competitive process.
Hi, I'm Bill. I went to Indianapolis last year for an exchange program in general surgery. Actually, I found the spectrum of disease very different between 2 countries, and it's interesting to learn how the other side of the world live like.
With China in the midst of healthcare reform, there is much to be learned for the students and staff that visit the school.
I think the more that we can learn from other countries and exchange programs like this, the better we can deliver care to our own American families that have different cultural values and beliefs and backgrounds.
IUPUI Chancellor Charles Bance embraces the opportunity forwarded to the university thanks to the Confucius Institute.
It turned out that there were a whole series of parallels. Sun Yat-sen has a very large medical school, as we do, relative to the 2 countries. And as well, we have a breadth of programs, including advanced manufacturing work that we do here, and we do that with the Purdue schools. And so we lined up and found real opportunities.
This program stretches beyond the university doors, giving us a glimpse into how the U.S. can better handle everything from particular medical conditions to our own changing healthcare system.
In their outpatient clinic, they see 10,000 patients a day. So just understanding how to manage the volume and the capacity of that system is amazing.
On the other side, I think the Chinese counterparts have very much enjoyed observing us being very advanced by operating children as neonates, newborn babies, very early, with very good outcomes.
As the exchange continues to grow, so will the opportunities to learn and perhaps together cure diseases that exist in both countries, strengthening hearts and minds all across the globe.
Chinese education is by no means limited to the upper echelons of study. Here's a fact that might surprise you. Indiana Department of Education data shows that since 2000, Chinese has been the 2nd fastest growing language in Indiana public schools. American Sign Language is first. This year, at least 32 public schools statewide are teaching Chinese, and many more schools have one-to-one partnerships with schools in China. Some of these schools also have established Confucius classrooms. Parents will be interested to know that British researchers have found that people who speak Mandarin use both sides of their brains, while people who speak English only use one side. Leslie Olson takes us into some classrooms where both sides of the brain are being taxed.
He who learns but does not think is lost. He who thinks but does not learn is in great danger. Ancient Chinese philosopher Confucius wrote this proverb in 4th century BC. This boy from China doesn't understand much English, but he understands the universal language of music and how to share it. Students and teachers from Tiancheng Primary School in China visit Roby Elementary in Wayne Township. The schools have been partnering for 2 years.
And that whole view of the world being bigger than the west side of Indianapolis, and making sure that we provide opportunities for our students to see that it's bigger than just the west side of Indianapolis.
Elementary Education Director O'Day has a personal connection to China. Her adopted daughter Sydney was born there. The 6th grader loves learning about her native culture. However, learning the Chinese language can be confounding.
they have like different tones and like they don't really have an alphabet, so it's a little bit different, but we're learning it, so it's fun.
On this day, Sydney and several Roby classmates are weeks away from a trip to China. Sydney hopes to learn more about herself by visiting her homeland. Several visiting Chinese students believe American students will be surprised by the Chinese school day.
It's so long. We are so tired, and our class is so boring.
Sydney and her classmates did not find the Chinese classes boring during their exciting visit. They found the school noisy. During a whirlwind trip halfway around the globe, Sydney liked walking on the Great Wall and seeing the ancient culture and history that she and classmates have been studying. She says she was proud to be of Chinese descent, but happy to return home as a Chinese American. Yang Bing is a guest teacher sent to Wayne Township as part of a collaboration between the American College Board and the Hanban Confucius Institute. Guest teachers stay 2 years. There are also 19 full-time licensed Chinese teachers in the state. An organization called Global Indiana says it has created nearly 100 China-Indiana school-to-school partnerships. The private International School of Indiana added Mandarin Chinese to its French and Spanish immersion programs in 2009. Mandarin fills a need for families from China who are here for temporary jobs at places such as Eli Lilly and IUPUI, but American students attend as well.
We are working on more and more characters, Chinese symbols that will help them in reading and writing, especially when they go to China. It will help them in future business too.
If they choose, these students should have the opportunity to pursue Mandarin Chinese through 12th grade at the international school. A Chinese poet once wrote, "You cannot open a book without learning something." And so, during 5 intensive summer weeks, the Confucius Institute camp at IUPUI keeps students on track with reading, writing, and speaking in Chinese. 5 days a week, Chinese guest teachers demonstrate several aspects of Chinese culture. Camp culminates with a crowd-pleasing performance. They learn crafts and calligraphy.
And the writing, to me, is actually very easy because when we do have it, the characters look exactly what the thing really is.
They learn singing, dancing, and martial arts.
We depend on each other economically, culturally. So I think teaching Chinese language and culture might bring our two countries closer to each other.
Raymond Habash is a proud papa. His wife is Taiwanese. Their American-born daughter Isabella has traveled to Taiwan several times. The family is grateful for Indiana's growing embrace of Asian nations.
I think the fact that we're constantly building our relationship in Indiana with, you know, the farming industry and crops and things like that with Asia, Taiwan, and China, that there's always that element of that we want to make sure that we build those relationships.
As Confucius said, to be fond of learning is near to wisdom.
There are few more intriguing pathways into culture than how it expresses itself through art. The ceramics, paintings, dance, and music of China build upon traditions of artistic expression that stretch back thousands of years. Finally, we learn why 2 non-Asians have dedicated themselves to exploring Chinese culture through music, specifically through their decision to learn how to play the Chinese bamboo flute. Ray Gonzalez shows us that though these musicians are both learning the same instrument, their motivations are very different. One plays for passion, the other for love.
Every Sunday afternoon, rain or shine,
Hundreds of students make their way to the campus of Carmel High School to shower themselves in Chinese culture. The Chinese School, sponsored by the Indiana Chinese Community Center Incorporated, leases the facilities at Carmel High to provide instruction in Chinese language and the arts. Initially, the Chinese school focused solely on language courses, but the desire of parents to keep their children motivated led to a very pragmatic decision to add classes that are fun.
I talk with a bunch of parents, and they feel if we open some of this class, at least they will attract the kids to come to Chinese school a little bit more.
4, 5. Their logic is proven out. This semester, the student population exceeds 350 participants, from preschool aged to adult. The majority of students at the school are the children of native-born Chinese parents currently employed in central Indiana, or adopted Chinese children of American parents. But a growing number of students are people with no obvious connection to China, other than a desire to learn about a country and culture that fascinates them.
Our school really offers the opportunity to anyone who are interested to learn the language, learn the culture, so anybody you can come to register.
One adult student registered at the Chinese school is Loretta Contino. Loretta has dedicated herself to playing the Chinese bamboo flute. Her desire to master the instrument is the latest expression of a fascination with China that began when she was all of 5 years old.
I think it was a comic book, which my mother didn't really like us to have, but this one in particular had a girl, and she was digging to get to China. And that was something that I thought I'd like to do.
Though she didn't have to dig a tunnel to get there, Loretta finally made it to China, and for her, the Chinese flute was love at first sight, or rather, love at first sound.
Just what was it that made that sound? And it was a glorious sound. You could make large things, or you could have it so that nobody could even hear it.
Though Loretta is an accomplished musician and music teacher, and has played Western flute since high school, the differences between her old and new experiences in flute playing are worlds apart.
What you're playing is not written the way we have it. There's no staff. Down is up, and everything had to be started again almost to learn this.
For those who share Loretta's commitment to learning, the Chinese school also offers courses in dancing, painting, and even martial arts.
Powerful.
Allowing students to explore an artistic heritage that stretches back 50 centuries. Marilyn Jacobs is determined to keep her adopted daughters Anna and Lauren connected to that ancient heritage. It's a determination that was born during a conversation at a garage sale.
This man came up to us and said, are they from China? And I said, yeah. And he said, well, I'm adopted from Korea. And he said, please don't forget their heritage. And just the way he said it was so powerful. And I thought, even though I hadn't exactly thought about it at that point, I thought, this is important.
Searching out Chinese cultural learning opportunities for their children has been a challenge, as the family has moved from Texas to the United Kingdom and now finally to central Indiana. But Marilyn is pleased with the program she's found at the ICCCI Chinese School.
Wherever we go, we've been able to find one. But same thing when we came to Indiana, just Googled it and found the school here. There's just an atmosphere here that's great. There's an enthusiasm, and it's really great.
Of course, coaxing children to spend 4 hours of their weekend in a classroom can lead to some interesting questions.
At one point, our daughters have said, well, if it's so important, why aren't you learning Chinese? And we're going, okay. So what do you say to that?
Now the Jacobs family attends school together, each weekend as a family. Marilyn is taking a class in Chinese and also, like Loretta, learning to play the flute.
Oh, we're supposed to play. Oh, I'm sorry.
And though it can be difficult, she feels like she doesn't face the challenge alone.
Sometimes when I do these things, I feel like I've got generations of people behind me watching and saying, go for it, you can do it, and you know, that kind of thing. I feel anyway, this sense of history when I'm doing some of these things, of how long it's been around.
And so it goes on. Each and every Sunday, dozens of classes, hundreds of students, immersing themselves in a fascinating culture. Some inspired by passion, others by love.
We hope that, like the open door between Indiana and China, we've been able to open your eyes to the growing Chinese culture here. As ties between us grow, the Confucius Institute is key. With that, we bid you farewell. 再见.
Open Door, China in Indiana is made possible by a grant from the Hanban Confucius Institute headquarters, a public institution affiliated with the Chinese Ministry of Education, committed to providing Chinese language and cultural teaching resources and services worldwide. Additional support is provided by Indiana University, Purdue University, Indianapolis.